Hello, everybody. Welcome to Beyond the Game podcast. I'm your host, Terry. My co-host and partner in crime, Trey, is off today, enjoying his Labor Day weekend, and we hope that everybody else is also enjoying their Labor Day weekend and being safe while doing so. With that being said, we're going to move right into some college football. It was an interesting week one, to say the least. There were some good games Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then there's still a good game that's on tonight with TCU and North Carolina. All I'm doing here today is just covering the games that have already been played from Friday through Sunday. I got a little bit of news that we're going to go over, and we're going to talk about the big games that were played this weekend. Most notably, the Texas-Ohio State game, LSU Clemson, Alabama Florida State, Georgia Tech Colorado, and Virginia Tech South Carolina, Notre Dame, and Miami. We're going to talk a little bit about them each, and then we'll move on. So with that being said, let's get into some news. Like I said, it was an interesting week as far as on the field. There was a couple of off-the-field issues. I know down in Troy, Alabama, they had a shooting that occurred during the football game. We hope everybody is okay and safe with that. College football games are not a place for stuff like that to happen. We like to keep activity like that out of college football because it does not the kind of attention that it needs. And then piggybacking off of that, there was a Florida State freshman that was shot over the weekend as well, and he's in critical but stable condition. But that occurred, I believe, on Sunday. So we're hoping that we're sending get well wishes to everybody that was affected by that. And I don't know all the details behind that stuff, but hopefully everybody's doing well, and that's going to be handled appropriately. So one of the big news coming out of Alabama is wide receiver Ryan Williams could miss the next game, which is Alabama's first home game. He is in concussion protocol, and as of right now, he is considered day-to-day per Coach DeBoer. And they are hosting Louisiana Monroe. Obviously, we all know that they lost to Florida State in a surprising football game, I would have to say, the least. But I'll talk more about that here in just a second. Moving on with the news, Tennessee apparently has lost a starting cornerback. Ricky Gibson III is going to be out for an extended period, quote unquote. Apparently, he got hurt, injuring his left arm in the Syracuse game that Tennessee won. So it looks like Tennessee is going to be looking for a replacement for that on defense. Texas Tech starting quarterback Beren Morton is out or is dealing with right leg muscle soreness. He's considered day-to-day as well. He left the Texas Tech's first game against Arkansas Pine Bluff with that leg injury. According to the release from the coach and the team, all his x-rays came back and MRIs came back negative, so that's a good sign. So it looks like it's just going to be mostly muscle soreness there. So we'll see where Texas Tech is at with that, with their game coming up next week. Outside of that, Michigan has a linebacker that has been suspended for the first half of the game against Oklahoma next week. Apparently, he got a targeting call in the game against New Mexico, so he's going to be out for that first half when they play Oklahoma, and that's considered one of the big games next week with Oklahoma playing Michigan. So we'll see how that goes. Outside of that, we're going to get into some scores real quick. Let me get them pulled up, and then we're going to talk about the games that started off. So we're going to start with Friday, and Friday was an interesting night. The biggest game, or the two biggest games on Friday, were the Auburn and Baylor game and the Georgia Tech Colorado game. I'll start with Auburn and Baylor. So, Auburn coach Hugh Freeze he's been struggling the last couple of years at Auburn, most notably due to not having a quarterback. So it looks like they may have found their quarterback. Their offense got started a little slow in the first half. The game was a lot closer at halftime than what most Auburn fans probably would have wanted it to be. But halfway through the third quarter and the start of the fourth quarter, Auburn's offense just kind of ran away with the game. Auburn's defense looked phenomenal, like they always do. The offense was actually able to move the ball, so the defense was able to get some rest, which helped out really well. They wasn't spending all this time on the field like they did last year and getting gassed, where these teams were able to pull away from them in the fourth quarter. But overall, Auburn looked pretty good. I'm not going to say that, they're back, because it's probably not what I'm looking for. But, Jackson Arnold was 11 for 17, 108 yards, no touchdowns. He also ran for 137 yards on 16 rushes. Auburn's running back, Demary Austin, ran for 84 yards on 16 carries, and Jeremiah Cobb ran for 74 yards on 16 carries. Jackson Arnold scored two rushing touchdowns. Austin had one rushing touchdown, and Jeremiah Cobb had one rushing touchdown. So they did it mostly with a rushing attack, which is typical of a Hugh Freeze offense. If you guys remember when he was at Ole Miss, they ran the ball really well. So it looks like he may have found a quarterback to run that offense for him. Moving on to Baylor, although Auburn did give up 419 yards through the air and 3 touchdowns, I still think Baylor's got some issues. They appeared to be mostly one-dimensional all night. They only had Bryson Washington, their starting running back, only had 54 yards rushing. Caden Knighton only had 29 yards rushing. Sawyer Robertson was sacked a couple of times and lost about 19 total yards out of that. So, but they did have some receivers that teed up on Auburn. Cole Wilson had 134 yards receiving. Michael Trigg had 99 yards receiving, and Ashton Hawkins had 70 yards receiving. And Sawyer Robertson, he hit probably many different receivers. It looks like a total of about 8 receivers that he threw balls to, where they had at least 2 or more receptions. So he was spreading the ball around. But I think in order for Baylor to have a successful season, they got to find a running game to take some of that pressure off of Robertson from throwing that ball as much as he did. He was 27 for 48. That's a lot of passes for a football game. So we'll see how the rest of their year goes. We're moving on to the Georgia Tech Colorado game. That game was a lot closer than I think most people were expecting. Georgia Tech did not look like the same Georgia Tech team from last year. They struggled on offense. They struggled with turnovers. They struggled with penalties. Haynes King was only 13 for 20 for 143 yards and 1 interception. He did rush for 156 yards on 19 carries and 3 touchdowns. Jamal Haynes rushed for 65 yards on 16 carries, and Malachi Hosley rushed for 47 yards on 7 carries. Most of their offensive production was Haynes King, but I'm going to go ahead and tell you right now, he cannot do that for 12 to 16 games in a season. Georgia Tech's got to find some people that can help him take some of that pressure off of him. There's just no way that he's going to be able to maintain that type of production through the season, playing the ACC schedule, and especially getting into the playoffs if they win the ACC, which we have them predicted to do. Tough loss for Colorado. Both the teams were slow in the first half, in my opinion. It took them a little bit to get going. Caden Salter for Colorado came over from Liberty, 17 for 28, 159 yards, 1 touchdown. Michael Welch rushed for 64 yards. And then Caden Salter also had he rushed for 43 yards on 13 carries and had 1 touchdown. Colorado's defense looked a lot better than it did last year, I think. So I think Colorado is moving in the right direction. This is a tough loss for them, but I will tell you that if Georgia Tech is able to fix their problems and play the way we think that they can play, or we know that they know how to play, I think this is going to be a good loss for Colorado as long as they don't lose any more key games. Because if Georgia Tech eventually gets ranked and they're ranked high and they win the ACC, then this can actually help Colorado when it comes to strength of schedule. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens with those two teams for the rest of the year. Moving on to Saturday. Saturday was interesting as well. There was a lot good games. The biggest game, of course, was the Texas-Ohio State game. I'm going to take a few minutes to talk about this game. Ohio State's defense, those are some men. Those are not college kids. Dude, they came out and they smacked Texas right in the mouth, and Texas did not know what to do with themselves. I'm going to go ahead and tell you right now, they had no idea that Ohio State's defense was going to play them the way that they played them, especially given the fact that they lost so many defensive players last year. I mean, it was insane. But Ohio State's defense is for real. Now, Texas defense, it played well. It held Ohio State to 14 points, but that's all Ohio State needed was 14 points. That first half of that game was a defensive struggle for both teams. I think both defenses played extremely well in the first half. I think the difference in the game were the adjustments that were made at halftime. I think Ryan Day made better adjustments than Steve Sarkisian did, and which blows my mind considering that Sark is the offensive mind that he is. I was expecting more balls thrown down the field with Arch Manning at quarterback, or at least using his legs a little bit more. Arch Manning was 17 for 30 and 170 yards with one touchdown and one interception. He needs 250 yards a game passing if they're gonna be successful and win football games. Wisner rushed for 16 carries, 80 yards, no touchdowns. C.J. Baxter rushed for 10 carries, 40 yards, no touchdowns. Arch Manning ran for 38 yards. There's got to be more production out of the running backs to take some of the pressure off of Arch Manning, and their offensive line has got to hold up better with pass protection to give him time to throw the ball, especially down the field. But Texas's offense has got to open up the playbook. I mean, I get this is his first real start, but if you spent all this time in the spring and all this time in the summer to get him ready and you're that conservative in a big game, then it's either a player development issue or it's a coaching issue or both. They should have stretched the field a little bit more. Jack Indries had 4 receptions of 50 yards, and that was it. Parker Livingstone had 2 receptions for 47 yards. Ryan Wingo had 35 yards, and C.J. Baxter had 25 yards. I mean, that's come on, Texas, you got to do better. Ohio State, again, offensively, they struggled a little bit, and I'm not taking anything away from Texas's defense. Texas defense played really well in that game. They kept Texas in that game, and offensively, they just couldn't do what they needed to do. But Julian Sayin was 13 for 20, 126 yards and 1 touchdown. C.J. Donaldson, 19 carries, 67 yards, 1 touchdown. James Peoples, 10 carries on 20 yards. I mean, overall, it was a good old-fashioned defensive struggle game, but I think a lot of people were expecting this score to be a lot higher than what it was. And then Jeremiah Smith for Ohio State, I mean, he had 6 receptions and 43 yards and no touchdowns. They tried to get the ball to him, but Texas just had him on lockdown. So I think that Texas being ranked number 1, obviously this is going to affect their ranking. I still think they're going to be in the top 10, but I think Ohio State's going to be our new number 1 when the new rankings come out this week. So it's going to be interesting to see. LSU and Clemson, both of these ball teams have got problems offensively. Defensively, they're okay, but I think offensively they were hurting themselves with the turnovers and the penalties that they had. It didn't, for it to be as number 4 Clemson against number 9 LSU, it just didn't live up to the hype in my opinion. So Garrett Nussmeier, 28 for 38, 230 yards, 1 touchdown. I do think LSU has found a running back in Caden Durham, 17 carries, 74 yards, 1 touchdown. He was running the ball like a man in between the tackles, which is typical LSU football. I think if they can keep him happy, keep him healthy, and give him some breaks when he needs them with Xavion Thomas, I do think that they were going to be a team to contend with in the SEC. Aaron Anderson had 6 receptions for 99 yards. Jawan Johnson, 31 yards on 5 receptions. Barry and Brown. Nussmeier did distribute the ball to a lot of people, which was good. Getting different sets of hands on the ball to create different plays. But they did shoot themselves in the foot with penalties. And I think that LSU has got to clean up their offense. Moving on to Clemson. Yeah, I said this in one of the earlier shows and discussing this with Trey. Dabo Swinney said that they were going to win six. There was a possibility they had a very good chance to go undefeated this year. Well, that ain't happening. Obviously, they lost. So I think Dabo needs to go back and reevaluate offensively what they're doing. Cade Klubnik, 19 for 38, 230 yards, 1 interception. Rushing, Adam Randall had 5 carries on 16 yards. That was the issue. Clemson could not rush the ball. Their highest rusher, they had a total of 20 carries on 31 yards. They averaged 1.6 yards a carry with 1 touchdown. You're one-dimensional at that point. You're not going to win many footballs in the ACC, and you sure are not going to contend with other Power 5 schools in a college football playoff if you cannot get your rushing game going. You've got to take some of that pressure off of Cade Klubnik, making him throw the ball 40 to 50 times a game. It's not gonna work out well for you. Bryant Wesco Jr. had 4 receptions for 66 yards. T.J. Moore had 4 receptions for 55 yards. Tyler Brown had 4 receptions for 43 yards. I mean, he distributed the ball well. Both quarterbacks did. But when you become one-dimensional, then especially if you're one-dimensional passing, all the defense is going to do is pin their ears back, and they're just going to rush you, and they're going to get after the quarterback. And Cade Klubnik's an athlete. He has some escapability, but I mean, after a while, it's going to be difficult for them to do what they wanted to do. So I think that both of those teams need to clean up, and I do think that they're going to win a lot of football games this year. But I just think that Clemson is going to be – I think Clemson is going to struggle more than LSU is going to struggle this year. It's just my opinion. The biggest shocker for me for Saturday was the Alabama-Florida State game. I do not think that anybody was expecting Florida State to come out and do what they did at home against Alabama. Whatever Mike Norvell has done to turn that team around, it showed up in week 1. I know he went out and got Gus Malzahn as offensive coordinator, and I believe he went out and got a new defensive coordinator as well. After that abysmal season last year, going 2-10, if anybody's on the hot seat for a coaching change, it's Mike Norvell. But Florida State decided to stay with him one more year. He made some coaching changes, and they came out Saturday, and I watched a little bit of this game, and they flat out punched Alabama right in the gut, and then asked them what they were going to do about it, and Alabama could not respond. They went out and got Tommy Castellanos from Boston College. He went 9 for 14 for 152 yards. He also had 16 carries and 78 yards with 1 touchdown. Micaiah Danzy had 3 carries, 56 yards. And receiving-wise, Jalen Lucas had 2 receptions for 66 yards, and Squirrel White had 1 reception for 40 yards. Castellanos distributed the ball well. They ran that offense well. It's a traditional Gus Malzahn, run the ball first, work off play action, then throw the ball. If they continue to play the same way they played against Alabama for the rest of this season, we will be talking about Florida State in the postseason, I believe. Moving over to Alabama, Nick Saban ain't there to save y'all no more, Tide fans. So, and he ain't coming back. Offensively, wasn't too bad, honestly. Ty Simpson, 23 for 43, 254 yards and 2 touchdowns. Kevin Riley had 5 carries on 31 yards. Richard Young had 9 carries on 26 yards. Ty Simpson ran the ball 9 times with 17 yards. Um, Jeremy Bernard had 8 receptions for 146 yards. Ryan Williams had 5 receptions for 30 yards. And as I talked earlier in the show, he went out with a possible concussion, and he's in concussion protocol. He may not be available Saturday for their home opener. But I do think that defensively, Alabama's got some questions, and I think that they need to clean up some things offensively. Florida State's defense just got after them, and it did not look like. And I know everybody's comparing Alabama now to Alabama when Nick Saban was there and all the years that he was there, but obviously you cannot do that. This is Kalen DeBoer's team. It is Kalen DeBoer's responsibility to get these players ready for these teams and these big games. It is his responsibility to develop his players. It's his responsibility to make sure his coordinators are calling the right plays, and it's his and his coach's responsibility to make sure these guys are in the right place at the right time. And I just think that this is not the last loss that Alabama's going to have this year, and this is not the last time we're going to be talking about some issues that Alabama's going to be experiencing over the course of this season. I just think that Alabama's they're a good football team. They have a lot of talent all over the field, but I think that it's going to be different for Alabama fans over the next couple of years while they get used to the Kellen DeBoer era. And I don't think that Alabama is going to be the SEC team to have to beat this year, or one of them. I still think that solely rested on Georgia's shoulders. Obviously, Georgia won. They played a scrub team. But it is what it is. So moving on to Syracuse and Tennessee. Tennessee looked good. They locked Syracuse down. Tennessee's going to be a contender this year, I believe. Joey Aguilar came over from UCLA. Obviously, everybody knows that Tennessee and UCLA basically swapped quarterbacks for this year. So Joey Aguilar was 16 for 28, 247 yards, and 3 touchdowns. Star Thomas had 12 carries for 92 yards. Deshaun Bishop had 11 carries for 82 yards. Peyton Lewis had 8 carries for 38 yards. And Joey Aguilar carried the ball 6 times for 34 yards. Not to mention that Braylon Staley had 4 receptions for 95 yards. Chris Brazel II had 5 receptions for 62 yards, and Deshaun Bishop had 2 receptions for 44 yards. I mean, Aguilar spread he spread the love. He threw that ball to many different receivers. It was a typical Josh Heupel offense, and Syracuse just. I think in the end, Tennessee's depth just showed as the game went on, and they just pulled away with it. Steve Angeli had 23 for 40, 274 yards, 1 touchdown, and 1 interception. Yazin Willis ran the ball 23 times for 91 yards and 3 touchdowns. Will Nixon, 9 carries, 33 yards. Syracuse looked good overall. They just gave up some big plays, and they just couldn't keep up, I think is what it boiled down to. So let's keep an eye on Tennessee and see what happens with how that's going to go. But yeah, I just good weekend for football. Let's see. Moving on to Sunday, we got Virginia Tech and South Carolina. The old Beamer Bowl is what they called it. I will tell you that South Carolina is going to be a team that is going to wreak havoc in the SEC this year. I know a lot of people have them winning 8 games. I think they've got the possibility to win 9 or 10. Their defense is phenomenal. And if Lenore Sellers can stay healthy and they play the way they played against Virginia Tech, I think that they can hang with any other team in the SEC. They looked really good. Virginia Tech, their struggles continue. They put up some pretty good yards offensively, but they hurt themselves with penalties, and they just could not get into the end zone. So Lenore Sellers of South Carolina, he was 12 for 19 for 209 yards, 1 touchdown. Pretty efficient. Oscar Hadaway III, 14 carries, 60 yards. Faison had 7 carries and 40 yards, and then Sellers ran for 25 yards and 1 touchdown as well. Receiving, Nick Harbor. Man, I'm going to go ahead and tell you, that kid is a baller. And he's fast. I mean, 3 receptions, 99 yards, and 1 touchdown. You're not going to be able to guard him one-on-one. You're going to have to double him up, and you cannot let him off of that line clean. If you do, then just stand by, because they're going to throw it up over your head, and he's just going to run under it. He's probably one of the fastest kids in the country this year. He's tall. He's got good weight to him. He's got good hands to him. I mean, he's a baller. He's a basketball player too. So it's going to be interesting to see what kind of numbers he puts up this year. So Brady Hunt, 4 receptions for 45 yards, and then Oscar Hadaway had 2 receptions for 23 yards. I don't know what the answer is for Virginia Tech. Kyron Drones, 15 for 35, 221 yards and 2 interceptions. Marcellus Hawkins, 15 carries, 58 yards. Kyron Drones ran for 12 carries, 26 yards. I mean, they just could not get the ball into the end zone. Donovan Green, 3 carries, 94 yards. Aiden Green, 5 carries, 71 yards. Receptions, 3 receptions, 94 yards. 5 receptions, 71 yards. Isaiah Spencer, 1 reception for 28 yards. I mean, it's not like they didn't. I mean, they had some offensive production. They just couldn't get the ball into the end zone. And their defense, I mean, it looked good at times, but obviously there's some issues there that Virginia Tech's going to have to address, and I don't know if that's going to be addressed as in finding a new coach, because it is believed that their coach is on the hot seat at this point, and because this is not typical Virginia Tech football. I mean, you always compare them to the good coaches that were there at the time. We're talking about Frank Beamer. And Virginia Tech has not had a lot of success since Beamer retired, but a lot of people are hoping to get success back at Virginia Tech, so it's going to be interesting to see what happens. At Notre Dame Miami game happened last night. I watched this game. Miami looks good. It took both the teams a little bit to get going, but when they did, they got going. They went back and forth after halftime. I mean, it was a good offensive game. It was a good defensive game. Both these defenses are extremely well coached. They've got players on both sides of the ball. C.J. Carr for Notre Dame went 19 for 30, 221 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception, and that interception obviously wasn't his fault. Jadarian Price, 6 carries, 45 yards. Jeremiah Love, 10 carries, 33 yards. I mean, between their 2 star running backs, Jadarian Price and Jeremiah Love, you got 16 total carries for 78 yards. Notre Dame's not going to win many football games by doing that. I don't know if Jeremiah Love was hurt and they were just trying to hide it. I don't know why Price wasn't getting more carries than what he did, because there were some times he had some pretty good carries. Neither one of them had any touchdowns. I don't know if both of them are hurt. There's no telling. But you got one of the, if not the best, 1-2 punch backfields in college football, and they have 16 carries for 78 yards. That needs to be fixed. C.J. Carr ran for 11 carries for 16 yards and 1 touchdown. Eli Raridan had 5 receptions for 97 yards. Malachi Fields had 3 receptions, 48 yards, and Jordan Faison had 5 receptions for 33 yards. Jeremiah Love did get into the receiving game a little bit with 4 receptions and 26 yards. But we all know, watching them last year, that Notre Dame's biggest flex was how they were running the ball. They had that big offensive line. They had the 2 good running backs. You've got the same type of quarterback that you had last year in C.J. Carr with this year. He's just as athletic. I don't know what was going on with Notre Dame last night with their rushing game, but it just wasn't there. And there's some questions to be answered as far as the health of Jeremiah Love and whether or not he's going to be able to put up the numbers that he put up last year. Moving on to Miami. Carson Beck, transfer from UGA. Obviously, everybody knows about this. He came over from Georgia. 20 for 31, 205 yards, 2 touchdowns. He had a total 84.9 QBR rating. That is outstanding. He's a baller. He's been around. He's been in big games before. Obviously, we know that, playing at Georgia for 2 years. He did well. He distributed the ball well. Miami looked really good. I think Miami's going to be a contender in the ACC this year, and I think they're going to be a contender for the college football playoff as long as they can keep their offense healthy and on the go, and their defense can play like they played last night. Mark Fletcher, 15 carries for 66 yards. Shamar Brown, 15 carries for 54 yards. That's a good equal amount of carries for both of those guys. Shamar Brown did have 1 touchdown out of that. That takes some of that pressure off for Carson Beck. It makes the defenses play the run game. I think that as long as they keep that up, they're going to be fine. Malachi Toney had 6 receptions for 82 yards and 1 touchdown. C.J. Daniels had 5 receptions for 46 yards and 1 touchdown. Carson Beck distributed the ball well. Defensively, both of these teams, their defenses were good. I mean, it was a close game, 27-24. It came down to pretty much the last second. Notre Dame made some bad decisions. They had some turnover issues, but I think Notre Dame can bounce back from this. I think Miami's going to continue to win some games. So just like with that Georgia Tech Colorado game, I think this is a good loss for Notre Dame. It's just the question is going to be, 1, is their strength of schedule going to be enough this year to keep them up there? And 2, can they continue to win out? And if Miami continues to win, will the College Football Committee take that into account? The last game I'm going to talk about is the one tonight, which is the TCU North Carolina game. Bill Belichick's coaching debut with North Carolina. He's coming over from the NFL. We all know how good he did with the NFL with Tom Brady and the New England Patriots. The biggest question mark that I think a lot of people have with UNC is going to be the fact that they have 70 new players on that football team. 70. That is unheard of for a college team to start a season with that many new players, learning a new offensive system, a new defensive system, and playing in a conference that can be competitive like the ACC. A lot of people are saying that North Carolina is not going to do well this year. I think that they have the potential to win at least 7 games, if not 8. I think they have the potential to cause a couple of upsets and do away with some of the dreams for some of the other schools that they're going to be playing. But if anybody can get these young men ready to play this game tonight, it's going to be Coach Belichick. I know he's got a good coaching staff around him. I know they're going to get these players developed, and it's going to be an interesting game to watch tonight, and I'm looking forward to it. So that's the weekend. Like I said earlier, I had to go without Trey this weekend. He's going to be back next week. Like I said, he's enjoying a holiday weekend. There might be future podcasts where I may not be here and Trey may be doing one on his own. So, we enjoy doing this. It's a little harder to do it by yourself, but we're going to make it work. And with that, I just want to say thanks for hanging out with us here on Beyond the Game. If this episode helps you in any way, please subscribe, review it, or share it with your friends, family, and our own social media. We look forward to everybody's support. If you guys have got any feedback, please feel free to email us at beyondthegame6@gmail.com. And then you can also find us on social media, and you can also find us on, I think it's Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. And I believe we have a TikTok as well. You can also contact us that way as well. We try to get back to people within 24 hours if we receive messages. If we don't get to you in the first 24 hours, give us a little bit more time. We do work for a living. We're not getting paid for this. So just bear with us. But yeah, we welcome ideas. We welcome suggestions, and we welcome your comments. And again, thanks for hanging out with us today. We'll see you guys next time. Y'all have a good one.